Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Late night here on Thursday as I get ahead of this Friday NBA slate with 12 games to choose from. Going to be looking at a bunch of projections for about 4 of these games that I've got going really deeply into some of this stuff. I've got about 5 best bets already on the card, but also going to have another player props specific video that comes out a bit shorter than this one. We'll have some final bets in it for tomorrow morning. And then that live stream, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, as we get ahead of the tip off here for that 12 gamer on Friday. Going to be looking at best bets with you guys as well. So definitely want to make sure you come through, bring your bets, jump in the comments, let me know what you guys are looking at, and then we'll look at that stuff together and see if we can't find some more value here on this slate for Friday. But let me go ahead and get right into the first game that I'm looking at here on Friday. It is the Thunder, and they are hosting the Suns, and it is a 2.5 point spread, 228.5 on the total. Key thing here that we're clearly looking at is SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is doubtful in this one. And then on the Sun side, you do have Yusuf Nurkic, who is questionable as well. So a couple of things to keep an eye on, but we can pretty much assume that Shai is not playing in this one and move forward accordingly. Looking at the last 5 for both of these teams, Suns have actually been really, really good despite not winning as many games as they probably should have. Just a couple of losses in there that are pretty bad, but they do have the 9th best offensive rating over their last 5 games, playing the 3rd easiest schedule as well. It should be clearly mentioned there that the Suns have been playing a much easier schedule than this Thunder team. 4th best defensive rating during that time, and the pace is at 15th for the whole season. The last 5 games, 10 games, 15 games, the whole season, this team is always at 15th in pace, right in the middle. The rebounding has been really, really good for them over those last 5, as well as the effective field goal percentage and their ability to limit the other team shooting first and second accordingly there. And then for the Thunder, they've been on a little bit of a what you'd call a slide for the team that is, battling for first place and is only a half game back right now of this Denver Nuggets team in the West. That offensive rating has been at 17th and defensive rating right in the middle of the pack as well at 14th. Still playing a very fast pace, 5th fastest in the league. The rebounding has actually been a little bit better for them because they are a very bad rebounding team on the season, but has been about middle of the pack as opposed to 27th or so that they've been for the majority of this year. And then in terms of the field goal percentage and their ability to limit the other team's field goal percentage, also dead center, basically 17th and 18th respectively there. So not too much to glean from the Thunder because I don't think it's really the type of team that the level of team that we're going to see going into the playoffs. But without Shai, it's a huge deal, right? Especially on offense for this team. If we look at the offense for Phoenix compared to the Thunder's defense, the free throw rate on the season for the Suns, 3rd best in the league, as opposed to the Thunder's inability to stop that. Their opponent free throw rate is 23rd on the season. But if you look at the last 10 games, the Suns have not been getting to the line. They've been a very, very heavy jump shooting team, and they are a really good jump shooting team, but they have sort of gotten away a bit from going to the rim as frequently as they were. You see there on the season, they are 3rd best in terms of their free throw rate, but in the last 10 games, 3rd worst in terms of their free throw rate and the amount that they're getting to the line. Instead, it's the mid-range frequency stuff that they're second, taking the second most mid-range shots on the season, but they were getting to the bucket a lot more too. The field goal percentage very good from the mid-range. They got a couple assassins between Beal and KD and Devin Booker, obviously. And then in terms of transition, they're not doing it very often, but they are very effective. Thunder have been really good at limiting transition. They get back on defense, ton of athletes all over the floor for them. They've also been good with their rangy long defenders and a ton of wings as well. That's the majority of the position that they have is wings. And those dudes have been stopping the mid-range as well, really at a really solid rate. If the Suns do decide to go to the bucket, though, the Thunder have been bad at limiting free throws all season. They continue to do that because they end up having to foul. They do play really aggressively, which is a big part of that and why they get a ton of steals as well. But it is something that could be a weakness if the Suns want to actually get to the bucket. There's going to be some free throws coming their way because of how much this Thunder team fouls. On the other side of the ball, this Thunder team is only getting to the free throw line at a rate of 17th on the season. Everything is sort of very balanced for this offense. They're middle of the pack in terms of the frequency with which they get to the paint, with which they shoot mid-range shots, with which they shoot threes as well. It's a very balanced attack, although they could use a couple more three-point shooters probably, although Josh Giddey is coming along. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But they're very efficient from everywhere that they shoot, right? They are going to get the field goal percentage very high for them on the season, a top 5 offense in general, top 5 shooting team, effective field goal percentage on the year. So they're going to continue to be efficient from all of the different places that they shoot from, which is what causes mismatches and problems on the defense on the other side for other teams, is that they can score in a bevy of ways. Even if you take one thing away from them, they have other weapons. You know they're going to get into transition a ton, second highest frequency with which they're doing that. And if you look at the Suns, they are good at limiting teams in terms of the opposition's transition points per possession, right? That's what the PPP there means. Top 10 in terms of limiting that efficiency-wise. In terms of the mid-range, you can get some mid-range shots off, and it's a little bit skewed here because of the fact that this Thunder team's taking so many mid-range shots, mostly because of SGA. That's where he lives, right around the free throw line and slightly in, and that's going to be a shot that's not going to be quite used as often probably without SGA on the floor for them. In terms of the opponent paint stuff for this Suns team, top 10 in limiting frequency and field goal percentage. So they're stopping you from getting to the rim. They're not fouling you, and they are limiting the field goal percentage that you shoot around the basket. So some really good numbers for them defensively, especially with the way that the Thunder are probably going to be looking to attack the basket and keep this thing fast with the way that the players that they have on the floor will be playing. Right. If we look at the trends, I do think it does tell us something, at least to a degree, especially for the Suns, who when they are the away team and they are favored, they pretty much handle business. 14 of the 22 games they've won straight up. They're not covering, but they are winning by an average of about 6 points per game. So that would cover this 2.5 point spread, even though the against the spread numbers aren't as good for the Suns. I think it's a little bit skewed because if they're still covering the spread, they're still like +1 against the spread total on the season in terms of the amount of points that they're covering the spread by on average. Even though, right, you get what I'm saying. So 14-8 straight up is still a really good number with such a small spread. I buy into that a little bit more. And the Thunder, while they've covered 3 of the 5 games that they've been a home underdog, they are 2-3 in those games straight up, losing by an average of about 5.5 points. So that is obviously favor for the Suns there and a notch on their belt. So that does bring me to a best bet that I have here, half a unit on the Suns to cover this 2.5. Got it at -105. I can see the public waking up tomorrow and seeing that Shai Gilgeous is injured and not likely to play. And then the bets start coming in on Phoenix because we all just assume that automatically means the Thunder aren't going to win. And I'm not assuming it. I'm just basing that on the way that the Suns have been playing. They're the 7th seed right now. They need to win and overtake that Mavs team. I do not think this Phoenix Suns team has any intention of playing a play-in game if they can help it. So this is a sort of blood in the water situation for them without Shai Gilgeous on the floor for the Thunder. Suns are going to come out and bring it the way that they did in this last game. Even though they've had a couple bad losses, I know, in the last roughly couple weeks, they've still just been one of the top teams in the league from almost every stat category on both offense and defense, and they're rebounding. So they're doing everything right now, other than pulling it out against the Spurs the other night, right? That's what we all have fresh in our minds. And that might be what's keeping this thing at 2.5. Still think that's a really good number to take it at. I want to show you a couple more things here for this game because I do have a couple player props based on the fact that we know SGA is not going to be playing. And this is this graph here, these 3 different charts essentially are showing you the numbers with and without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the season for these 3 dudes: Josh Giddey, Kayson Wallace, and Jalen Williams. Josh Giddey specifically, I mean, this is a 2-game sample, but this is actually also kind of carries over from last season for J-Dub and for Josh Giddey. Kayson Wallace didn't obviously play last season. He's a rook. But the other 2 dudes at the top and bottom here, Giddey and Williams, they do seem to have a huge difference in what happens when SGA is off the floor. For J-Dub, you can see at the bottom there that his assists go way up. They go from 4.5 assists per game to 9 per game. And that's, over only these last 2 games. But that was also the case last season, where in the last a bunch of the season, he was going over without SGA on these assists very consistently, getting over on the assist that his prop is for this game on Friday very consistently. So we'll take a look at that one real quick. And Josh Giddey, it's been the points. And look at the field goal attempts for him. They went from 10 per game to 17.5 over the last 2 that he's played with this season without SGA. That was both very high scoring games, one against the Warriors, the other against the Rockets the other night. Both losses, but they both went well over those totals. So there was a lot more points to go around. Giddey's playing 7 more minutes in those games than he does when Shai's on the floor and playing in the game. And the points are what go up because of the field goal attempts. The assists, rebounds, pretty much the same. In fact, a little bit more without SGA. But he's the dude picking up 7 shots that SGA was getting per game right now. So I'm going to look at both their props. Kayson Wallace, is the reason he's even on this chart is because he does start in place of SGA, and that defense is incredible. But the numbers outside of that don't really go up. 10 more minutes, 2 more points, but his prop is usually a little bit bloated because of the fact that people assume because he's the starter in place of SGA, he's going to get some more usage. Not really the case. The field goal attempts don't go up that much, just 2.5 more field goals, whereas you see with Giddey, 7.5 more field goal attempts per game. So the couple best bets that I have here are for those two dudes. Jalen Williams going over 5.5 assists. I got to believe that this goes up to 6.5 by tomorrow. The Phoenix Suns are bad at defending point guard assists. They give up the 6th most on the season to the point guard position, and that's coming from the pick and roll ball handler, and that's what J-Dub does, Jalen Williams. So we're going to, he takes over that offense. He does play at the top of the key. There's not quite as much pick and roll, but it is he and Chet Holmgren running that pick and roll when it's the two of them on the floor, and it'll be a little bit Jalen Williams with Jalen Williams pick and roll when J-A-Y Williams, Jalen Williams comes in and plays center, and then he runs that pick and roll with J-Dub. For Giddey, I am going to take over the points. It's 14.5. Already see it going up to 15.5. I would take it at 15.5 as well, but that's where you start to lose value after that. I think 15.5 still gives us a really good breathing room from the projection that I have, which is that he's getting 18 in this game. So if you're giving me 14.5 and he's got to get 15, when I project him to get 18 points in this one, I'm going to feel pretty good about that. Second game I'm looking at here is this Clippers team at Orlando taking on the Magic. I think most people are going to play for the Clippers. I don't see anybody. There's no injury report just yet for them. Obviously, Kawhi and Paul George can sit at a moment's notice, and it wouldn't surprise me. But for the Magic, they do have everybody healthy, which has been kind of the tail of the tape for Orlando this season, is the fact that they've had so much health and have not been as injured as they have been over the last couple seasons, and especially last season. So if we look at the last 5 games for these two teams, Clippers 7th best offensive rating and have plummeted in that D rating despite playing the 5th easiest schedule. The pace remains really slow for this team as it has been all season, and the rebounding has been pretty unimpressive as well. 19th over the last 5 games there in the rebound percentage, and their ability to shoot, they've been very, very good from deep. You see that effective field goal percentage is very high in top 10. The defensive effective field goal percentage, not as good, and that's been the problem for them as they've been sliding a ton. They have such a stronghold on this stranglehold on the Pacific Division that there's not really as much to worry about, especially as the Suns and the Kings kind of just flutter around and try to maintain avoiding the play-in tournament for both those teams. But for the Clips, I don't think that any of I think the malaise that they've been showing and the lack of heart, essentially, and the Clippers going clip is basically what it's been for the last couple of years. I'm going to buy on that trend to continue as they kind of come to the end of this really long road trip as well. For the Magic, when they've got a team that they can get on the ropes like this, where it's like, they're, like I said, they're on the road, they're probably a bit tired and frankly a little bit old. And the Magic are coming in ready to pounce on teams like that. We just saw them lose to the Dubs in a must-win situation for Golden State, who had their backs much more against the wall than this Clippers team. So for the Magic, everything's been pretty much on par for them, even though they've also had a very easy schedule over the course of their last 5 games, 22nd in terms of strength of schedule there, and not as good in the rebounding category. Even on defense, they've been better, the second in defensive rating, but the defensive effective field goal percentage has been higher for them at times, I'll be honest. The offense has been pretty good, playing at a decent pace compared to what they normally play. Honestly, 19th is pretty fast for them compared to how they normally play at one of the slowest paces in the league. In terms of what the Clippers are going to do well, they could get to the free throw line if they choose to go to the basket, similar to that Suns game. If they're going to press the matter with the Magic, we've seen the Magic foul a ton because they don't like to give up easy baskets. So if there's some free throws coming, I do smell an over a bit in this one. But also the paint field goal percentage. That's been something that the Magic have struggled with. They're very good close to the basket, not quite as good a little bit away from the basket, mid-range area. You see that they're struggling to defend that. They've made a point to guard the three-point line a lot better, so maybe those shots won't be there quite as much for the Clippers. But the other stuff here you see in terms of the jump shooting right around the mid-range area and the top of the free throw line, they've struggled to defend that. So that would lead me to believe in an over. But more importantly, I do have a best bet that's kind of based on how well Orlando has been playing on offense and how well they are, what they do well being a problem for the Clippers, to be honest. Like the free throw rate, okay, they're pretty even there. The percentage of their points from free throw are very high. So you can see they're not really hitting any threes. This Clippers defense has been very good at defending the three, not quite as good at the rim. and not good in terms of limiting second chance points off of these offensive rebounds. So if the Magic can get rebounds and get into the paint and score from there, I do think they're in a great spot to win this one. I did not put this bet in yet. I think we can get a little bit more juice on the Magic, to be honest, on this money line at plus 104. I can see this going up a point, maybe a point and a half before it closes, and maybe we get this money line up to about plus 110. I'll put that best bet final when I have it in the video that I'll be putting out tomorrow morning, and the live stream 5:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow as well. So make sure you check that out. Two more games I want to run through with you guys. Quick look at this Lakers and Pacers game. For the Lake Show, normal guys questionable, normal guys out, but I do believe at least LeBron for sure is going to play in this one. AD I would also expect to play in this game as well. Pacers are just missing Benny Matz, who's out for the season, Benedict Mathurin. If we look at the last 5 games for this team, pretty easy schedule. Well, normal schedule, let's say middle of the pack for the Pacers. Lakers played the 6th hardest, but they've been on a tear, and this team has definitely made a statement here in the last few games, coming back against the Bucks the way they did, winning these games that they have as of late, not even having a letdown against the Grizzlies on Wednesday night, just playing really, really good ball right now. Top 6 offensive rating, defensive rating as well, both in the top 10, fastest pace, and a really good rebounding team. And they're defending all the shots outside and inside well as shooting well themselves. So with that in mind, like the Pacers, they've been impressive. They played really fast. This totals at 240.5 for a reason, but the defensive rating still leaves something to be desired. And the rebounding for this team has been really bad over their last 5, 29th in rebound percentage. Decent, like I said, on defense overall, but they're much better at limiting outside shots than teams that want to go to the basket. And this Lakers team for sure is going to be wanting to go to the basket. Let's start with their offense real quick and just look at all that green, right? Second in free throw rate. That's going to be a huge problem for the Pacers, is that this team is going to get to the rim. They're going to get to the free throw line. And if they're making any semblance of threes the way they have because D'Lo's on fire, it might be just night for the Pacers. Now, I know that recently the Pacers just kept it really close, and it was 150 to 145. Wild game for sure with all those points. I just think the Lakers can pull it out when they want it. They can get really easy baskets much more easily and with much more efficiency than this Pacers squad can. Quick look at those last 2 meetings and exactly what I'm talking about here with these free throws. Look at the discrepancy in free throws, especially in this game that just took place, right? 38 for 43 from the line for this Lake Show squad, and 27 of 35 in the prior game. They outshot them both times. At least the Pacers had 33 free throws to come along in that last game. In this last one, they really relied on 3-pointers a ton. They were only 9 of 16 from the free throw line, and that's eventually what did them in at the end of the game there, with the Lakers getting to the line as much as they wanted in those overtimes. So the Lakers here are my bet on this one, for them to cover the 2.5 points as dogs on the road. I believe in them right now, especially the way that LeBron's coming back pretty rested, pretty healthy, did his thing against Memphis, and now I think he's going to come back and at least have a good game. I think his points prop is at 26.5. It's super high, but it is I expect him to impact the game a ton with the rebounds and assists, even more so than the points probably. But if he's going to be attacking the basket, he'll get them. If he wants to feed his teammates who are going to be attacking the basket, then he'll be getting the dimes a bit more. But let's close it out with this really, really good matchup that I hope is a good matchup, because we hope Rudy Gobert plays, we hope Anthony Edwards plays, and we hope Jamal Murray plays. But these guys have kind of been questionable consistently throughout the season, so I'm not as worried about their participation as much as maybe some other guys who you might see on the injury report. I just want to take a quick look at the last 5 for these two teams, because if one of those dudes, those 3 guys between Gobert, Ant, and Jamal Murray doesn't play, this game looks totally different, to be honest. But if they do play, at least a quick look at the last 5, I do think it's like crunch time for the Nuggets, and when they need to get into it, they're going to prove that they're the best team in the league. I would take the 6.5 right now. That could go up. The thing is like if Jamal Murray doesn't play and Ant and Rudy Gobert play, I don't really like 6.5. Then I kind of like it for the Timberwolves, who bring their defense wherever they go. The third best defensive rating over their last 5 games. 13th in offensive rating is like kind of where they've been at. Obviously, that's going to be a problem come playoff time if they can't get easy buckets. But playing at a super slow pace, both these teams going to have I think a grinded out slopper knocker kind of game, right? If we do get both and Rudy Gobert in this one. So I just want to wait to see a little bit more what happens with that. Hopefully by the live stream tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, I've got a bit more on this one. But like, for instance, if Jamal Murray doesn't play, then I've got a couple player props that I want to eye. There's just no point in talking about them right now because, one, if anybody sees this and a book gets wind of it, then maybe they want to raise that prop line up. But there's always going to be some stuff we can play when guys are out, especially those who take as many shots as Jamal Murray does, right? And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Appreciate you sticking along. Also would appreciate subscribing, like that video if you would, and comment about what you guys are betting. I'll be back with that live stream, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to put out a quick video, much shorter, about half the length of this, if not a little bit shorter, with a few more player prop plays that I want to get out to you guys early on so you can get a good number on them as soon as I get them on my card, and then I can hand them out to you. So continue to follow along, like I said, bet responsibly, and until I see you next, happy betting.